Welcome to Here for Good, Breaking the Silence, a podcast by the Here for Good Foundation. This is a space where we explore the stories, systems, and solutions surrounding domestic and family violence in Australia. But this isn't just about trauma, it's about truth. It's about brave people standing up, speaking out, and supporting survivors. Each episode will hear from experts, advocates, legal minds, social workers, and those who are making a real difference behind the scenes. Because ending domestic violence doesn't start with silence, it starts with understanding. I'm your host, Ben Mottram, and today we're starting at the very beginning with the story of how the Here for Good Foundation came to life. Today's episode is incredibly special because we're joined by someone who didn't just imagine a better world, they built something to fight for it. Our guest is the founder of the Here for Good Foundation, a person whose compassion, grit and determination have created an organisation that stands at the front lines of domestic violence awareness and prevention. What started as a deep concern for those suffering violence has become a movement that uplifts, educates and empowers. From advocacy to survivor support, policy change to public campaigns, this foundation is changing lives. And it all began with one voice, one idea. Please welcome the founder of the Here for Good Foundation, Marina Pullin.
Thank you, Ben. You've actually moved me to tears. That was amazing. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, I feel really special to be here. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to having a chat to you today, Marina. We go back quite a few years, but can you take us back to the beginning? What inspired you to create the Here for Good Foundation?
The inspiration, like lots of inspiration, came out of quite a dark experience. I grew up in Semaphore Park in Adelaide back in the late 1970s, and that community was a very probably working class, lots of housing trusts, like social housing, and lots of people were experiencing domestic violence, including my family. And I witnessed quite a lot of domestic violence, either in my own family unit or, like, I sort of smile, which might look counterintuitive, but it's not when you actually hear the whole story. We had it everywhere. It was sort of like just a part of the neighbourhood, DV. And it wasn't until I became older, I sort of left that area, that I started to see the contrast around that's just not how people live. It's not normal. It's actually not normal for these types of behaviours to be everywhere in the community. And it made me look back on some of the moments of courage that I saw by, funny enough, actually men against men, that really sort of, shaped the way I looked at how family domestic violence is dealt with. But also, for me, I had this, I was really drawn to this sense of community that I think areas like Semaphore Park offer areas that, more affluent places don't necessarily. And so anyway, I wanted to create a community who could tackle domestic violence. And I then crazily thought maybe a charity. I should start. I'd attempted to partner with a whole bunch of people and, different organisations, and I run my own companies, and I have always tithed as just a part of who I am. But I always wanted to reach down and get my hands dirty, and then sort of look at some of the examples of courage that I saw back down at Semaphore Park, and then see if this stuff could be worked on or developed into the community. So I look back and I think, let's build a charity. That seemed like a good idea. So we did. And if those of you who have built charities, there's a lot of paperwork, there's a lot of luck, there's a lot of work that went into it. And so I dropped the shoulder, as they say, and I got into it and built it. And then once the foundation was set up, I was able to then bring some of those really inspiring stories I saw from Semaphore Park into a structure, like a board structure and a charity structure that allowed it to prosper and make an impact.
Yeah.
So it was, I know that sounds sort of weird. It did come out of some pretty bad experiences. Um, yeah, shocking things that were going on. But I didn't even know they were bad until I got away from it.
Yeah, yeah. And the name Here for Good, what does that mean for you?
Oh, this is going to sound completely silly. Um, why did you ask that? Because I was actually overseas, and I was very inspired by women in Asia, particularly in Nepal, who were experiencing domestic violence, and there was a stubborn elegance about them that I found, and a physical strength that I just found very inspiring. Um, they were, I don't know, it was really got to me. Anyway, so I'm in Nepal. This is the part that sounds all a bit wanky, but I'm like in Nepal on a bus, staring out the window. I feel embarrassed even saying this, but it's true.
Mm.
And there was a big sign that came up, and it was a billboard at Kathmandu or somewhere, and it just said, "We're here for good." And it was quite, and the mood I was in, I actually interpreted as a stubborn statement. There was a real stubbornness to it. It was like, we're here for good and we're not going to stop talking about it. I heard later it was actually quite a philanthropic tone, which I don't know what that says about my brain.
Yeah.
They were like, no, we're here for positivity. And I was like, oh, that too. Yeah, that too. We are here for good, to do good. Even when it's hard, we will do good. But I quite like the stubbornness element to it.
Yeah.
We're not going to go away. And I think that's a real temperament. That's a Marina temperament that's come through. So that's it. And then someone said it's a really cute name because it has a double meaning. And I was like,
Yeah.
let's do that then.
Yeah. Brilliant. Did you have any fears or doubts at the outset in the early stages?
Yes, but I think the fears have actually grown over time. Um, I've always been a person who masters fears. I just see them as, a form of energy to overcome. So I just went into it and thought, nah, let's give it a crack. It's a real Australian approach, isn't it? That phrase, like, let's give it a go. And I always soothe myself by saying, what's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that can happen? Really? Can't be anything worse. So I sort of allayed all my fears at the onset about, the possibility of failure with those two self-soothing types of phrases. And it was almost like a startup. And having obviously worked in startups and built companies, it had that feel to it where you're just sort of, pushing down barriers, and that was all great for a few years. COVID hit, so we were on a strong trajectory, and then COVID hit and really threw a spanner in the works, and the amount of people donating declined despite the rate of domestic violence going up. It was sort of like, that started to make me feel a bit unsettled. And then post-COVID, I had a few knocks, because we lost a company and it was quite a tumultuous time. So my energy was a bit lower. And then I became fearful that if I could lead with the same level of, vibe that I'd had back in Nepal, that type of, so I had a real, what do they call it? The night of the dark soul type of thing going, can I do this? Can I do this as well as save this company, re-navigate that? I had a couple of health issues, no surprise. Everything just sort of happened at once.
Yeah.
And so my fear kicked in actually probably halfway through. I mean, it's been around for 10 years now, but probably about 2022, I reckon I started to really doubt whether we could do it. I'd also let I did something which I swore I'd never do, and I started to worry about public opinion. And I just don't think you can do this type of work and give a toss. Like, you've actually got to put your head above the pulpit, and you've got to actually get that stubborn goat energy back. I'm not going to go. But I'd lost that. I'd actually lost that. And I think a lot of people during COVID lost optimism and they lost hope.
Mm.
And I was definitely one of them. Uh, and then to answer your question around, was I afraid? I was afraid of myself on that front, I think. Going, oh, can I do it? You know, that type of stuff. Should I do it? And all that stuff. But then I got a little bit of wind in my sails. There were two moments where I got wind in my sails. One was a bit like the bus wanky moment, but I realised through the funding that we saw in the federal government around Australia's commitment to get rid of domestic violence. You know, Australia is one of the worst perpetrating countries in the world of FDV, which is wild. But I was like, wait, actually, I think not to minimise this, but I think, wow, I think we're on trend. Like, as disgusting as that is, but I felt like there was a movement in the community that I thought, actually, maybe I could do that. You know, get my vibe back, because everyone else, there was a movement and that sense of community connected with me. But the second major thing was meeting our deputy, or re-meeting. Our deputy, Anne-Marie, was pivotal and has been pivotal in providing the support and structure during those really touchy times. There's a lot of administration and there's a lot of getting stuff done energy when you're doing this type of work, and you can't do it alone. And Anne-Marie has been like pivotal. She's become like a pillar of it, which then I think takes away some of the fear. So yeah, they're probably the two moments. Probably my only last footnote is I have to steel myself against the skepticism and the growing cynicism in the world when people question my motivations or the motivations of the foundation. I would say I've been. This sounds crazy, but because I have two reactions to this moment, and it happens way too frequently, is I'm almost offended when domestic violence is one of the biggest issues in Australia, that I would see anyone would think that anyone would trivialise that into a marketing activity. And that was we've always had this issue, which I think is the Australian tall poppy problem. You know, they're like, oh, who do you think you are? It's got this real ugly underbelly of it. And that, when I was feeling low, that actually got to me. Whereas now I'm like, keep walking, mate. Keep walking, like, because we are here for good, and you don't like it. That says more about your own views and where you see the centre of energy of the world, because there are people out there doing really good stuff.
Yeah. Was there?
I didn't swear either.
Well done, Marina.
Yeah.
That is an achievement. I do know you very well. So was there something missing from the conversation around domestic violence that you wanted to bring to light?
Courage of people who intervene. There's a lot of focus on perpetrator and victim, and that's quite a complicated, transaction. By the way, it's not, villain and hero or it's just not like it. But the part that I think is the next chapter, or one of the chapters in this story, are the people who intervene. And in my story, which was the inspiration behind the Hunt for a Hero Awards, was a gentleman called Mr. Tassoni. He lived Recreation Parade. You can Google it. And one of my family members was getting roughed up, and he was like the local sheriff. He took it upon himself. He came down and he said, if that man lays hands on you again, he's going to have to answer to me. And he was a boxer, amateur boxer. And as a little girl, I must have been 4 or 5, I actually heard him say that, and I was so impressed. Like, it was terrible, right? But I'd normalised to it. But I was so impressed. He was this man, like a sheriff. And, he was like, yeah, I'm going to protect the women and children. And there are so many people who are doing this type of behaviour, or these types of actions, and creating a shield. But what I don't think we understand as a society that they're doing is that they are cementing the standard that we expect. And it does get me choked up because so many of us walk past BS, we walk past abuse, workplace criticism, discrimination, and every time we walk past it, that gets a little bit more cemented, just gets a little bit more glued in place and harder to dislodge. And the Mr. Tussonis of the world, and there are many of them, who just they intervene.
Mm.
We're all indebted to them because they hold a standard, this lofty, I mean, come on, like, actually, it's not that lofty, is it? Don't hit people.
Yeah.
Terribly low standard. But I just adore those people, and there's just not enough of them. And I don't think there's enough discussion around the reinstating the standards of society.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
DD is disgusting. It just erodes it. But so I'll just add one more thing to that. I've watched two people I know very close people who have gone through DV, and I'm actually I'm secretly, not that secretly now, but judgmental on how the community enables it. I watch friends too afraid to say anything, particularly against the perpetrator, and yeah, I just look at it and go, mate, like, this isn't just about the transaction we're seeing, it's the wider impact on our society. And I don't think that's very good.
Yeah. So this podcast, the vision for it is to celebrate the stories of people who stand up to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the heroes, all the brave, the courageous, who perhaps resonate to the stubborn part of the slogan of "We're here for good, don't mess with us." That vibe, and to draw everyone's attention in this world of being lonely and isolated, that there are people in community, and there are overwhelmingly amazing people who are meshing our society together and standing firm against probably one of the biggest issues that we've got. And you should be inspired by them. Like, they're incredible. Some of the stories in so many different parts of our community, who are just people who take in dogs because people stay in DV. And, just stuff like that. It's just inspiring. And they're all the Mr. Tussonis out there. And I hope that maybe if someone listens to them, that they'll go, maybe I could do a little bit. Maybe the next time I see something, I'll just do something to stop that little bit of crumble of society.
Thank you for listening to Here for Good, Breaking the Silence. If you found this episode helpful or inspiring, we'd love it if you followed us on social media at Here for Good, all one word. You'll get updates, resources and stories that remind you that you're not alone. And if you know someone making a difference in the fight against domestic violence, big or small, we want to hear about them. Nominations are now open for our Hunt for a Hero award, where we honour everyday champions creating safer, stronger communities. Head to the link in the descriptions below to nominate your hero and be part of something bigger. Until next time, stay safe, stay kind, and stay here for good.